either puts them in our old compactor or hauls them over and disposes of them themselves, so that it'll be included in the tipping fee plus incidental costs associated with the Public Works Department to maintain and clean that.
Okay.
I think it's a lot better than it was during probably the worst time was around COVID, where it was horrendous. Every time I go up there, but Public Works also stays on top of it. I'm sure you're getting all kinds of stuff still. And didn't Public Works score a perfectly good easy up canopy that you guys are using now? I remember that, but it's unbelievable what people will try to put in there or just leave there. Mm-hmm. And I think we've stepped up enforcement of it a little bit too.
But if a silver bullet goes to eco, mm-hmm. and they allow a certain percentage of contamination, which is non-recycle. Say people throw their household trash in the silver bullets, and it happens quite often. That just goes into the waste stream, and we get charged not only the transportation cost of the silver bullet getting hauled over, but now we get charged the tonnage for the trash that goes into trash, so you pay a different fee for it. So if we can keep, and we've been doing, the Gorham silver bullets have been fairly reasonable with their contamination rates. We haven't been stung too hard. COVID, we did get hit pretty hard with contamination fees because people were throwing everything in the world away, and now it's kind of leveled out, so contamination isn't as big of a problem as it has been. But anytime we get a full silver bullet that's contaminated past a certain percentage, it goes into the burner, and that's charged as municipal waste.
And contamination goes both ways too. So right now, if you leave out something that you're not supposed to leave out, they don't pick it up. And Public Works get an angry phone call, but it doesn't get picked up. Mm-hmm. If you put it in a bin, nobody catches that.
Right.
And now we have higher contamination rates. And we saw that with communities that had manual or mechanical collection. We had the lowest contamination rates. So it's just something that we'll have to, silver bullets aside, we have to look at that too. Mm-hmm. Wyndham did away with their silver bullets, it's, right?
Sure.
Somebody told me that.
I want a mechanical arm, and they still haven't got there yet, so.
For our recycling, my understanding is we require people to have open top recycling containers for pickup.
Nope.
No, we do not. You can have.
You can have them in a close. We got people that have the wheeled totes right now with covers on them. They have to be marked as recyclables because, you know, especially with when they go to mechanical arm, now the guys are going out and they're flipping covers open. If it's trash, it goes in one side of the truck. If it's recycles, it goes in the other. But when it comes time to do the mechanical arm, you know, the recycles got to go in the recycles and the trash has got to go in the trash.
Yeah, I know we have a lot of our littering issues come from just open top recycling bins and just the wind, right. Just the wind taking, yeah. And so I suppose that'll be solved in, it sounds like, a few years with the closed top rolling bins, but it would be good if, because we supply the open ones to people, right?
We supply one, the rest they have to purchase.
Got it. Yeah, I think it would be good to potentially move towards supplying closed ones so that we have less. Of course it's, yeah, but then, I mean, then we pay for it in just pure litter in the culverts. Yeah. You know? I'll bring you to my lawn.
Ready to move on? Cemeteries, everything falls under Public Works. We do allocate money towards maintenance of cemeteries, small amount towards repairs. We have how many cemeteries, Terry?
I'll count them.
He's got to count them. We've got a lot. When I was in the little town of Denmark, when I started my career, we had something like 28 cemeteries. It was ridiculous. They're all tiny, but
we got 14.
14 in Gorham. Not are all active, obviously.
We take care of. This list has 15 on it, but the bottom one is a typo that should not be in there. We maintain and work in 14 cemeteries in town.
And municipalities will inherit cemeteries as their organizations fall, dissolve over time, and it becomes our responsibility just by default.
Are we to the point where we should be looking at property for another cemetery, in your opinion?
Yes.
We've had that conversation a little bit here and there, but I think if an opportunity comes up for us to find the right type of property with the right soil conditions, we should be looking at it.
Correct.
Right now, the only cemetery we really have any space in is Hillside for new space. Not saying we don't have open areas, but most every other cemetery is sold out. People have bought their lots. Hillside, we just opened the new section last year, and I believe that's got a lot of takers in it already, right? I mean, not saying it's been used for burials, but people are very quick to buy up anytime we have available cemetery space, so.
Probably the cheapest
Lots sell
real estate in
quickly.
town.
Lots sell quickly, is what you're saying. Yeah.
So I had a resident bring up a question about the fencing around cemeteries. Is there a requirement that we have to fence in our cemeteries? If you could speak to that. Only because their comment to me was, you know, the fences are falling down, can't we just take them down? The people in there aren't gonna escape, so.
I believe by state law, we have to have the cemeteries fenced in. And I'm gonna go ahead a little bit, I'd ask for some monies. We've been doing some pretty good repairs on the rock walls around. We asked for some funding to do two things, to finish some stone wall work in the other cemeteries and add some fencing to the new piece of Hillside. That got partially funded. I'm not sure what we'll do with the money we got, but, you know, we're certainly trying to keep ahead of all that.
Yeah, I just wanted you to speak to the requirement of having them fenced in, because to their point, that makes complete sense, that we wouldn't have to replace them all the time. I think it was probably the chain link fence on Eastern, I think, is what they were commenting about.
Some make more logistical sense, and I don't think there's any money at the state really tracking this, but some that are in highly developed areas like Eastern, it makes sense to make sure that's always. Another thing that towns always run into is somebody somewhere along the lines of a small rural cemetery has donated the fence, and it was a family thing, and why are we not maintaining it? And it was donated 80 years ago, and was cast iron or something that's hard to replace, so. Yeah, we're trying to whittle away a little bit of money every year on picking away at some of that stuff. Next is stormwater. This requirement is just going to go nowhere but up as far as our costs. So the MS4 5-year permit is still in, I don't know what to call it. There's interested parties that are challenging the state, and the state's trying to do rulemaking. But our MS4 stormwater area will expand over time. There will be more and more testing requirements, review requirements, and more demand on staff. A good chunk of this, not most of, but a good chunk of our stormwater is paid for through TIF funds because it does impact our commercial and urban areas and it's allowed use, but no substantial changes. I just wanted to preach that this is not going away and it's going to be more and more an issue moving forward.
I just want to call out our stormwater compliance worker here. I think he does amazing work, and it's one of the most unseen things. Really, kudos.
We are very fortunate to have Ethan on our staff. He's very good at what he does, and he usually is the person delivering news to some of these homeowners associations and earthwork contractors that they don't want to hear. So it's not always the most favorable message he's delivering.
And just a general question for the public too. Generally speaking, this expense goes up the more paved surface we create.
No, I wouldn't say it's a direct correlation at all.
Okay.
The paved services are frowned upon, but there's so many different requirements and dynamics they look at. It's not just impervious area. It's impaired water bodies, development proximity to an impaired water body or water body, outfall, contaminations, inspections. That's a component of it. But as the MS4 permits evolve, I suspect there'll be more and more requirements on municipalities to prohibit or reduce impacts like that.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
And I think every year, isn't there like a training on the MS4 permitting I know I attended like 2 or 3 of them at one point,
yes.
and
We offer training for the council as required.
Yeah.
That a lot of you take advantage, all of you take advantage of in one capacity or another. But yeah, there's training requirements in the municipality, staff. If there's a car accident and fluids leak out of the vehicle, we got to report it. We got to document it in the MS4 area. There's just more and more requirements every permanent cycle.
no, it's a good, I'm just saying it because it's a really good one to sit through, because it does give you a 101 on what
Yeah.
basically triggers what, so,
Right.
yeah.
So moving on real quickly, kind of under Terry now, not really under Terry. This is our, I mentioned we're going to eventually separate facilities and the town engineer. Haven't quite done it yet, but we did move the town engineer, facilities coordinator, just so they could stand alone into their own area. Part of that is TIP funded, but eventually what you will see is our facilities grouped in with that as a department. That makes sense.
Say the addition of both of those positions, well worth the effort. It's been great for the Public Works Department with both of those. Chuck is a huge asset to us, and Kevin's doing a spectacular job in his short time he's being here. So I think moves in the right direction.
Real quickly, because I realized it when we skipped over it, but then I was debating in my mind how I'm going to resolve it. So page 45 is a typo. Half a dozen people reviewed this document, and every one of us missed this. Rent rentals. That number should be about what it was last year. Probably in the next week, I'll figure out how I'm gonna resolve that. We're gonna fix
Okay.
that. And I think I have some ideas on how I can fix it with minimal impact. There won't be any impact to the mill rate because of that. But I'm gonna double check everything because something's wrong. It could be as simple as that, but I also wanna make sure everything else is lined up and right.
Okay,
There's a mistake there.
while
Okay,
we're still
that's-
on this page, okay, real quick, can you explain the streetlights as well for me one more time, just while we're on this page? Because I actually put a napkin in here to ask you about it while we were on the break, so.
That's why this page has a misalignment problem.
Okay, so it's a total misalignment is what you're
Something is
saying.
way off, but I want to make sure that we didn't make a
Okay.
bigger mistake, because when you mentioned something about streetlights, something wasn't right in my head. We're gonna fix this. It may be a non-financial issue fixing it. It may just be a formatting problem. If it's a financial problem, it's still not gonna affect the bottom line. I'll fix that part. But streetlight maintenance, we pay for separately the actual costs that CMP charges per light, which is substantially reduced than having them own it. And then we budget a little bit of money every year for car hits a telephone pole, light breaks. We got to have somebody work on it, electrician, something like that. So there's still massive savings with it, but
Do we have to rent the pole that they're on, or no?
I think there's a small fee. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think there's a small fee associated with having the light on the pole, but it's nowhere near the cost of when we actually used to.
Oh, no, I know we've saved money on this,
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
That I don't
Sarah,
remember
so-
on the lights. When we attach our fiber lines,
Right.
yes, there is. We
Okay.
fought that at the PUC, but we ended up it's a nominal fee.
Okay,
But
Thank you.
There's something's going on here. I think financially it should be okay, but we just got to shuffle things around. If there's a money, if the dollars change, it's not going to affect the bottom line. We'll fix it. But I just wanted to point it out.
well, we're gonna have our
He
vote
mentioned
meeting.
something, and I'm like,
Well,
something's not right here.
That's why I was like, I think you explained it, but why is it and
Yep.
what?
So I just wanted to find a break in between the departments to go back and revisit that.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have our vote meeting, so I mean, we'll be able to talk about it then.
Yeah,
when
we
it's
can
correct,
talk
Oh, yeah,
about it.
right?
yeah, it'll be
So-
fixed before that.
Thank you.
So, I blame Terry. That's why we brought it.
Always.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Memorial?
Yeah.
Library, the library did ask for another position this year, which I did not put in the budget. And if you have any questions on that, we can ask James to come up. There was a shuffling around of positions a little bit, but more or less oh, you can't look at that. Yes, for James, he's like,
Just like
boom,
that.
magic. More or less, the budget of the library is roughly the same. From my seat, operationally at the library, the building, and something that Kevin Wood will be looking, our facilities coordinator will be looking at the building renovations, 22, 23 years old. The addition on it. So it's getting up there in age. We're starting to see mechanical failures or deficiencies. The building needs more and more general maintenance. And then obviously the library has their own operational costs associated with everything else, their programs and things like that. So you will see a generator that was improved in Capital Part 2 last year being installed. My generator guy just walked out. I think sometime this summer, but there's some logistical stuff we have to figure out with that. Part of that is just to have the facility protected, and part of it is the power shedding that we do at the peak times of the summertime. This building's not a problem because it has a generator. The library, we actually shut the library off and we save a ton of money on electricity through that. So, any questions on anything I just said?
Generator will be whole building, correct?
Yeah, whole building.
Everything?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, not a.
Not key circuits, not,
Oh, no.
yeah,
No.
okay.
James and crew do a phenomenal job with their programs and services for what we provide. You have a shared position through some grant funding with the school department.
Yep. That's part of that, where you see like the part-time position go down and the full-time position go up. The full-time position would have gone up a lot more if it weren't shared with the school department. So they're paying for a portion of that position.
Last year, we were able to boost the printed materials and books a little bit. We're still not, I don't think we're necessarily where we are with other municipalities, but we were able to get that in the operating budget. In the past, we kind of chipped away at a capital item for that. And James has been able to do, as you're aware, some work in the inside of the building with some of the capital money, as well as, I think, support from the trustees as well. And we'll be in Capital Part 2. We'll be looking at some other projects for maintenance in the library.
I know in the past there was a shared role between the library and GoCam. Is that still?
That has gone away, yeah, right. So
Okay.
GoCam has a full-time person now, and we have a full-time person now.
Okay, got it. Can you speak to the additional role you were looking for what were you looking for that to fill?
Yeah, we were asking for a part-time circulation staff for the main desk because both myself and Nissa, who's here, she's the deputy director, we spend a considerable amount of our day on the circulation desk instead of doing administrative things. So, you know, we were talking about like grant funding earlier. I can't remember the last time I applied for a major grant because I don't have time to do these things. So
I'm having deja vu. We had the same conversation 1 year ago, didn't we?
we had this conversation before.
Yeah.
Just so the council's aware, the cost of that part-time position, if the council wanted to elect to fund it at a later point in this budget cycle, is just a little over $20,000. So the typical cost of a part-time position.
And to clarify, if that position were filled, the time would be utilized by your team to do things like apply for federal grants that the library would know about that maybe the development team wouldn't know about.
Yeah, I think part of our time could definitely be put towards that, you know, and I mean, again, like speaking to what Nissa does with her day, like she, you know, she's buying all of the books for the adult collection, she's doing all of the programming for the adult side of things, and she's also spending probably 30 hours or more on the desk. And so it is very hard to get all of those things done well with the amount of time that we have to work. And we used to have another part-time person at that circulation desk. That was eliminated right before COVID, I think. That got cut out of the budget. And replacing it is actually less expensive than the position that used to exist, just because of how that position was structured previously. So.
And have you all noticed volume activity increasing every year, I assume, since 2020?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had a question. How did you procure so many glasses, and you gave them all away, right?
We did give them all away, yeah. That was, I believe it was funded through a donation, but we bought them like 2 years ago, prior to the,
Plans ahead.
yeah, the less interesting eclipse, and then we just hung on to them. So yeah, we had a box of 2,000 that we were able to give away, and yeah, we handed them all out. We were one of the last, if not the last, library in the area that was able to do that because nobody else planned ahead.
Not saying that that is all they do at the library, but found that interesting they were able to pull that off.
Yep.
If we were to fund this part-time position, how much would it impact the mill rate?
Could we use TIF funds?
No, you cannot use TIF funds. That's a good question, though. You could use TIF, and how TIF funds work is we could use TIF funds to offset something else that covers that cost, and I have done that. It's starting to be a model that we're using. I try not to use TIF funds aggressively for recurring costs, if I can get away with it, but a lot of our districts are pretty predictable on what they produce for TIF revenue. What would it impact the mill rate? I mean, I could probably restructure things around so it would have no impact, but maybe a penny.
So we're talking about $20,000 is the estimated cost for this line item.
I can tell you real quick, or James can. I can pull it up. Just want to make sure the number I have is right. I had a number that was 21,845.
Yep.
Yeah, $21,845.
I realize this is going to be a hard question for you to answer, but if we were to fund this part-time role, do you think legitimately you could spend that time working on grants and basically make up that amount of money in grants?
That is hard to say. Probably not, no.
Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, I doubt that, but we could definitely put more focus on those things. Yeah, I mean, the last time that we spent any time applying for a major grant, it ended up being $150,000 that we then put into a managed fund with a state organization, and so now that's kicking back like $7,500 a year in interest that I'm spending on ebooks, and so that's where most of our ebook budget is coming from that grant.
I know, not specific to the position, but just grants in general, and I suspect some counselors know this, but some departments have better odds of getting grants than others. You know, public safety tends to have federal money thrown at it, more local money, because it's just an item that people want to put money towards. Some departments like Public Works, there is money, but there's more red tape. There's not like money available to go buy minimal amount for safety gear, but it's not like they can go get a grant for a new loader. But we might be able to get federal money or state money towards a culvert replacement, things like that. So it varies dramatically. I'm not as familiar with the library, but I'm guessing there's some grants available, but not probably like public safety's opportunities. Exactly. So, yeah, just want to mention that.
Before I make this amendment, I want to ask the other counselors, how do you feel about
We're not voting on anything
no.
today.
Yeah,
Yep,
you can't
do
amend
anything.
anything.
Okay, well, about putting this position in?
I think that $20,000 to add additional staff person, to add more capacity, and I think that there would be a public benefit to that I think would be worth the investment.
Not opposed.
Would the
Not opposed.
Would the council be okay with, and part of my rationale too is, I understand that positions attract attention for negative reasons. Even if we can bring in a budget that has a no mill rate increase, when you say you're hiring half a dozen new people, there's often a negative association with that, and not that one position in any department is more critical than others. But if the council's okay with it, I will look at and bring you back an option, and you can give me some feedback behind the scenes if I can make it so there's no impact for this position or something. I'm happy to bring that option back to you, so that when you do vote on the budget, you have it. That's okay.
Sounds good.
I really don't want to see a connection between this position and the possibility of grants.
Yeah.
Because then people start thinking that, oh, the grant paid for that.
Right.
What happens if we don't get the grant next time?
Yeah.
So I just want to kind of separate,
Yeah. and-
separate those two ideas.
That's all I was trying to get ahead of.
Oh, yeah, it's a
that
good
question
plan.
from Seven was like, I cannot in any way guarantee that I would be.
Yeah, I
able
mean,
to fund
the
this.
value would be generated by the additional activity you're able to.
Exactly.
Maybe some additional programming you're able to provide because you have more administrative time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, most library directors don't spend half of their week on the circ desk. Yeah.
But you're good at it.
It is what I do.
And you greet us in such a wonderful way.
I'm sorry, I lost my page here.
So before we go on to the rec department, do you want to stop for lunch? Because I saw pizza.
Entirely up to the council, and I assume there's no questions on the utilities for the library. We do have the Baxter Museum, modest utilities, and we'll have some stuff in capital part 2 for that.
And we're doing heat pumps in there, right? So does this impact what we're thinking? I mean,
I
I
don't
know it's
know
gonna be minuscule, the electricity cost.
I don't
but-
know when they're going in yet, and I don't know when we're gonna operate them, but it's possible. I might overrun that depending on
Okay.
when they go in, the electric bill, but.
But we're not gonna bankrupt the town with the electrical cost, okay,
And if anything,
great,
it's
thank
gonna,
you.
it'll definitely help the building one way or another.
Yeah.
I don't know what running them even year-round will cost us, so.
Right, thank you.
Yep, if you want, we'll take a little recess, eat some
Yep.
food, and come back and try
Yep.
not to fall asleep.
Okay.